Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to Visual Arts. Today we're working on the elements of art. We have already done projects dealing with lines. We've done projects dealing with shapes, both geometric shapes and organic shapes. And we've also learned about the element of textures and went on a sort of a texture hunt and did some texture rubbings outside. And hopefully you did that at home as well. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to take you on a field trip. We're going to take a virtual field trip around the world in search for forms. So today's element of art, we're dealing with forms. So I have in front of you shape versus forms. Shapes are flat, like this circle. I can measure, if I get the mouse working here, I can measure the height of a circle, I can measure the width of the circle, but it's very, very flat. I cannot pick it up, I cannot hold it, I cannot bounce it. It's a shape. So this shape is a circle, but as a form, we talk about three-dimensional objects. Math teachers like to call them three-dimensional shapes. In the art world, we call them forms. Forms are three-dimensional objects. So this is a geometric shape we know as a circle, but this object, which is really round, the name of this form is called a sphere. So I'm trying to teach you the names of three-dimensional objects that we call forms. And if you see it, if it's round like this, we call it, it looks like a ball, we call this a sphere. So if I give you a lump of clay, and we take this weird shape of clay, and we take it in our hands, and we roll our hands in a circle, we are going to create what we call a sphere. All right, let's look at a new shape. As a shape, it looks like a rectangle. As a form, we can make it into a couple of different things. Like, in this case, we call this a cylinder. A soda can is a cylinder. A totem pole is round like a cylinder. Okay? It looks like a rectangle, again, but as a form, we could call that, looks like a block of wood, but we call this a rectangular prism. I got rectangular form, but we usually call this a rectangular prism. So we have cylinders, have a round top, a round bottom. A rectangular prism has all flat sides. So it's basically a rectangle, but it has that third dimension, so we call it a rectangular prism. This is a square, but as a form, we call it a cube. This is a cube. A cube is just like a square where all sides must measure the same. So again, we can measure shapes by the width, how wide it is. We can measure how tall it is. That's two measurements. But a form is a three-dimensional, so we can measure from the front to the back. That is the third dimension that we call depth. So this is a cube. Okay, now let's go in the triangle family. As a form, we can take that triangle and make it into a, yeah, you're right, it's actually called a pyramid. Just like what we might see in the desert, a pyramid. This shape, instead of having a square bottom like a pyramid, what if we had a round bottom? The round bottom makes it into a cone. It looks like a party hat. If I turn this cone upside down, it could be an ice cream cone. Now, we were talking a couple of weeks ago about shapes that follow math rules. We call those geometric shapes. Shapes that resemble things from nature, like this plant. We would call that an organic shape. Same thing with forms. If the form follows a math rule, like a cube, a pyramid, cylinder, cone, all of those follow math rules, so we call those geometric forms. But in this case, we have a sculpture of a plant, and so since it's three-dimensional, it's an object, we're going to call it a form. But since this form looks like it's from nature, then we call it an organic form. So there's geometric forms, and there's also organic forms. All right, let's take what we've learned about forms and identifying forms, again, like spheres, rectangular prisms, cubes, cylinders, which ones have I missed? Cones, and let's look in organic forms. Let's see if we can find them if we actually take a field trip. So, are you guys ready? Let's take a field trip. Now, we're going to be flying to different parts of the world in our virtual field trip. And I want you to be thinking, when I show you a picture of an image, I want you to be thinking, what form am I trying to get you to name? So let's look, and we're on the world search for forms. All right, hang on, everybody. Here we go. All right, that little red dot, which is right here, that is where we are. Our city is Paducah, our state is Kentucky, and we live in the country called United States of America. So where are we going to go first? Let's go to Europe. Now, Europe is made up of all of these tiny countries, and it's really hard to see when we're looking at a world map. So what if we zoom in? Computer, can you zoom in for me? There we go. Ah, there we go. But now we've lost our airplane. So let's see if we can find our airplane. Where are we flying to? Aha. Let's go to the little country in Europe called the Netherlands. There's a famous artist that I really, really enjoy, and his name is M.C. Escher. Now, M.C. Escher is holding a what? You're right. He's holding a sphere. And he's decided, you know what, I think I'm going to draw a picture of this sphere. And when he does, this is his drawing. So you can see he drew his hand holding a sphere, but it's so reflective, he actually sees himself inside the sphere. So he actually drew a self-portrait. So what I'm trying to get is drawings. We can draw the illusion of these three-dimensional objects we know as forms on paper. And so this is a good example of drawings showing us forms. And the name of this form, yes, you're right, it's a sphere. Okay, so let's leave the Netherlands and let's go to, let's go to Italy. I hear there is a big sculpture in Italy. Let's take a look at it. All right, so this is a ginormous sculpture made out of metal, but it's based on one of our geometric forms. And it's in Rome, Italy. So what form is this sculpture? Yeah, it's a sphere. And what's inside the sphere? You're right, it's another sphere. And if you look really closely, you might find some cubes and rectangular prisms all inside, which that's a really neat sculpture. Okay, I hope you guys brought your shorts and short sleeves, because where we're going to go next is going to be very, very warm. So, computer, where are we going? Oh no, we flew off the map. Computer, could you zoom out for me? Okay, now we're back. We see the whole world again. So you can see we're way far from home. We're over here in Europe. So, computer, where are we going to go next? Oh, we're going to go to the continent of Africa and the country of Egypt. So guess what's in Egypt? You're right. Pyramids. The Egyptians built these ginormous pyramids for their kings and queens. Uh-oh, hang on, we're getting ready to land. Watch out for that pyramid. Whew, that was a close call. So if we get a better look, once we've landed, we can see this ginormous form that the Egyptians called a pyramid. And when they first built them, they were so smooth and that the the Egyptian kids would try to run, and then they would slide back down. But now, since over time, you can actually see that his rough, you can see the rough surface, and the smooth side is gone. And believe it or not, the pyramids were basically built with cubes. And they use cylinders like logs, of course, is a good example of a cylinder, to roll these big, huge, heavy cubes up in place. So now we have looked at drawings that have forms in it. We've seen sculptures with forms in them, and now we're looking at architecture. Architecture deals with buildings, homes, houses, and big structures, bridges. In this case, we're looking at a big, huge, ginormous pyramid. And the pyramids were basically built to help to remember the kings and queens, and they're buried underneath these big, ginormous pyramids. But we'll talk more about that later as we talk about the Egyptian culture and some of the artwork that they have left behind. It's getting late. It's getting dark here in Egypt, so we better we better move on to a different location. Now this time, woo, here we go. This time I hope you actually brought a jacket, because where we're going to go, it's very cold, especially in the wintertime. So computer, where are we heading? Ooh, we're going to head to this big, huge, ginormous green area known as Russia. But that's so large, and we're really close in sort of the east side of Europe. Let's zoom in a little bit. Computer, can you zoom in for me? All right, we lost our plane, so where are we going to land in Russia? Oh, we're going to land at a little place called Moscow, which is one of their major cities. And we're looking at this ginormous church we call a cathedral. And it's St. Basil's Cathedral, and it's in Moscow, Russia. Now, if you look at this church really closely, believe it or not, you can find every form that we've discussed so far. And I'm going to show you some close-ups in a second. But I see spheres. The domes is actually a half of a sphere. We have pyramids. I see cones. I see cylinders. And look, there's people. There's sculptures of people. And that would be a good example of an organic form. Organic form is any kind of form that looks like something that's come from nature or is very natural. And people are living, breathing creatures, so that you can't get any more natural than that. So we call that organic forms. So if we look a little closer, we can get to see what it looks like in the daytime. We get to see some more cones. And some of these domes up here at the top's got these really, really cool pyramids. And it's very, very colorful. I love the colors in this architectural structure. Again, if you look really close, you might see the little pyramids on this dome. In the spheres up here at the top. Again, close-ups of some of the spheres right underneath the crosses. Oh, I forgot. Also in Russia, they're either thinking about creating this building. I don't know if they built it yet or not, but it's called Crystal Island. And so this is a structure that, like I said, I think they're trying to build it, or it's in the works. But what kind of form will this new building be? Yeah, it's a cone. It's a cone. This is a model of what it's going to look like, and this will be the sort of the city in Russia, and you got this big, huge, ginormous island that this cone-shaped building is going to be on. And I think this is sort of a rendering of what it's going to look like. And I had a student ask, well, how the hell are they going to get there if it's on an island? So, well, I guess they have these bridges to get there. But, they'll probably put a mall inside there and offices building. But I think it's going to be a really cool really cool design. All right, we're here at a celebration time. It's time for us to leave. We got to get a little closer to home so that you guys can get to your art project. So we're going to leave Russia. And now where are we going to go? Ooh, that was a round trip there. Let's go to France. In Paris, France, there is a huge tower called the Eiffel Tower. Now, the Eiffel Tower is what kind of form? This is a tricky question. Yes, it's actually a pyramid, but it does not have any walls. Now, a long time ago, when the pyramids were built, at that point in time, the pyramids were the largest structure in the world. And then I think the Eiffel Tower, from what I remember, is just a few inches taller than the pyramids. And when I was here visiting in France several years ago, I got to walk right underneath. We walked right beside the merry-go-round, and I'm standing right underneath the Eiffel Tower. And I noticed that people were lining up. And so I stood in line to see what's going on. And we went to the one of the legs of the Eiffel Tower. And it was an elevator. Instead of going straight up, the elevator went sort of diagonal, and we got off onto this floor. So I walked around, looked, and I said, well, I can see all kinds of cool stuff. I can see the Louvre, which is a museum in Paris, France. And I said, well, it's pretty cool. And then I get in an elevator, which I was thinking I was going to go down, and it actually went up. It went up vertically, and then I got off onto the second floor. The second floor, I walked around. I said, wow, I can see even more of France. I even got to see Notre Dame, which is a really big church there in Paris, France. And then I got in an elevator, so, all right, well, it's time for me to go. But instead of going down, it actually went up higher. And I went all the way up to the top. And when I looked at the top, I could see everything. It was so high up. And the wind was blowing really, really, really hard. But I did survive the trip. And I was just trying to point out that the Eiffel Tower is a pyramid, but it doesn't have the walls or the coverings like a normal or traditional pyramid has. And they do like to decorate it for special events and holidays. Oh, you know what? I also discovered that there was an artist in France who wanted to make the United States a birthday gift. When the United States turned 100 years old, France gave them a birthday gift. And so would you like to go see it before we finish up our virtual field trip? This will be our last stop. Okay, well, here we go. We're going to leave Europe, and we're going to leave Paris, France, and we're going to get all the way back over to the United States. But where is this present? Where is this birthday gift to the United States for its 100th birthday party? Where is it? So let's find our airplane. Whee! Oh, we're going to have to stop off at New York City to see this present. So you know what it is? Yeah, it's the Statue of Liberty. The artist in France wanted to create a really special gift to give to the United States as a birthday gift for its 100th birthday party. And so this artist sculpted hundreds of these little tiny sculptures of Lady Liberty until he found the right one. And then he made it really large. And then they had to ship it over piece by piece until they got it built over in New York. So the Statue of Liberty is not a cone. She is not a sphere. She is not a cylinder. She is not a rectangular prism. So what kind of form is she? She's not a geometric form. She is an organic form. So this is a good example of a sculpture using organic forms. So if, the Statue of Liberty is standing on a really cool little building, which looks like a rectangular prism, and it's actually on a star-shaped building. And I didn't realize that either. And then she's standing, the whole thing is standing on an island, Ellis Island. So to get to it, you have to leave New York by boat, come to the island, there's the little boat, come down the sidewalk, go into the star-shaped building, and believe it or not, you can actually walk all the way up here to where her feet is. And so if we get another view, you can actually not only get up to the feet, but there's a staircase that spirals all the way up to the crown. And a lot of people will make that climb just to see out the crown, just to see what she's looking at. And they used to, I don't know if they still do or not, but they used to let people, there's a staircase that goes up her arm up to the torch. And you could, used to be able to stand out there and look around. This is an example of what it looks like on the inside. And this is actually a picture of them building the Statue of Liberty. But you can see that spiral staircase going all the way up and the staircase that goes up her arm. They use scaffolds, big cranes, and a lot of people work together, both in France and the United States, to build this awesome sculpture that we know and love today that stands in New York. This is the artist who designed the Statue of Liberty, and you know, he made this thing so big, he's actually standing in her hand that is holding the book that she is going to be holding. And just to give you an idea of the scale or the size of it, here's a guy who's standing underneath her sandal, her flip-flop, and it looks like she's getting ready to take a step off of her pedestal. It's getting late, and I got to explain your art project. So let's let's leave New York. Let's come back home to Kentucky. And as for your art project, I put together these little books for you. It's called a passport book. It's going to have our school's name on it, Lone Oak Elementary School. Underneath it, it'll be a line so that you can write your name on it so nobody gets your passport mixed up with somebody else's. and it's called the Purple Flash Passport. And today we're studying the element of art of forms. And like I said, you can color this any way that you want. Now, on the inside of your passport is usually photographs or stamps that show you places that you've been. And so if we open this up, you have 4 cool postcards that you can color however you like. We have, all I wanted to do is give you a something, a souvenir, something to keep that shows and helps you to remember the forms that we learned today on our virtual field trip. And so our first image is of Egypt, and we see the Great Pyramids. We see St. Basil's Cathedral, which was very colorful, but if you look closely, it's got all kinds of forms and details that you can use. We went to France and saw the Eiffel Tower, which is a pyramid without the wall coverings. And then we saw the Statue of Liberty, which is a great example of an organic form. So I hope you guys enjoyed the field trip. I hope you enjoy your fall break. And I'm hoping that you find your passport. If not, ask your teacher, and hopefully it will be in your folders if you're a virtual learner. If you just missed me this week and we didn't do it in class, hopefully your teachers will get them to you. If not, just let me know, and I'll make sure you get one. So enjoy. I hope you enjoyed our virtual field trip. Enjoy fall break, and I'll see you back in a couple of weeks. Bye, everybody.